here they come to take his body. My son, what insult will they add to my sorrow? What cruel intention do they have in mind now? Would even they stoop so low as to torture a dead man? No. Wait. See what care the man takes? See how tenderly he holds Jesus, as if to soften his pain? Bless you, stranger. You are as careful and gentle as even I would be, if only I could. And so his pain ends. Those thorns across his forehead, those whips across his back, how I long to soothe his wounds and wipe that arrogant soldier's spit from his face. When he cried from the cross, I thirst. I jumped as if to find him a cup. But I couldn't. They would not let even his own mother come near. Long ago, when Joseph and I presented him as an infant at the temple, a stranger approached us, an old man named Simeon. He took Jesus in his arms, and he spoke of him as God's salvation for all people, the very Messiah. And then he looked at me with kindness and sadness in his eyes. A sword will pierce your soul too, Mary, he said. I've carried those words in my heart ever since. When they took a spear and pierced Jesus' body to make sure that he was dead, it was as if that spear pierced my flesh instead of his and ripped apart my very soul. Strange piece of comfort that, to take their final insult and bear the pain myself. It has been so hard to be both his mother and his disciple. I wanted to encourage him, yet I wanted to protect him too. I remember one time at a wedding in Cana when I tried to advise him, and he rebuked me in his gentle way. I had to remember to let go and let him follow God's plan. Yes. He was the Messiah, the Savior of the world. But he was still my little boy. Even when his own brothers didn't believe in him, I stood by him. and I will stand by him still. His friends were around when things were going well. Why, even last week, the crowd surged around him, waving the palm fronds at their king. And his disciples marched proudly beside him. But where are they now? They've run. They're scared. They couldn't even stand with him as he breathed his last. But who is here? Only a few women. Oh, but women who believed in him and who could understand how I can be hopeful, yet brokenhearted at the same time. He said, in a little while, you will see me no more. And then you will see me again. Friends, help me hang on to that promise. This can't be the end. Sisters, please stand with me. Will you wait with me?
There, Mary. We're all here for you. It's Martha, honey. Good old Martha. You know, the one who got so busy in the kitchen she couldn't stop to listen to Jesus. That busy, busy, busy. If only I'd known how quickly he would be gone. I'd have left those dishes alone and sat at his feet. Okay, I probably would have put them into soak, but then I would have stopped to listen to Jesus. When my brother Lazarus died, I couldn't sit still either. I'm sorry, Mary. I don't mean to joke around. I just need to keep busy. Everyone else, when my brother Lazarus died, was moping around the house, but I kept running back and forth from the house to the road. We had called for Jesus when Lazarus was sick, and even after I knew he would come, even after he was dead 4 days, I kept running back and forth from the house to the road looking for the master. Mary told me to come sit and be dignified, but she didn't push. Then finally someone said Jesus was coming. Once more I ran to the road. And there he was. I was half mad, or half relieved and half mad at him. Lord, if you'd only been here, Lazarus wouldn't have died. I cried and the tears finally came. But then I thought, wait a minute, who am I dealing with here? I grabbed his arm and started tugging him toward the tomb. Jesus, even now, God will give you whatever you ask of him. Jesus told me that Lazarus would rise again. I said, yeah, I know he'll rise again in the resurrection of the last day. I was impatient. I didn't need a theological lesson. But then he stopped, and he looked at me. And he said, I am the resurrection and the life. Those who believe in me, though they die, shall live. Do you believe this, Martha? I did. I felt foolish. I knew he was the Messiah, the Son of God. And for a moment, I forgot about Lazarus and caught a glimpse of eternity with my dear friend as king. Then before I knew what happened, plant some flowers at the tomb, get some spices.
Mary? The man who took Jesus' body down was my husband Joseph, Joseph of Arimathea. Joseph and I believed in your son. Mary, I will wait with you. I suppose our secret will be out now. You see, Joseph listened to Jesus and became a disciple, but he told no one. He had to be careful. There were times when we knew we should have spoken up, but please understand, Joseph kept his faith to himself because he was afraid what would happen if the other council members found out. Mary, Joseph is a member of Caiaphas' council, the Sanhedrin. But my Joseph didn't agree with them. He tried to convince them not to do this, but he could not. Joseph agonized over the decision. He paced all night, wondering what he could do to help Jesus. This morning, he told me of his decision. Just last week, Joseph bought a tomb not far from here, I think for himself or perhaps even me. But last night, he changed his mind. Today, he went boldly. My Joseph, the once timid disciple, went boldly to Pilate and asked for the body. Mary, your son will be buried there as a nobleman. And Joseph and Nicodemus brought myrrh and aloe and had me buy some of the finest linen cloth to wrap him in. He will be buried properly. I hope that brings you some comfort. You should have known Joseph before Jesus came along. Talk about stingy. But because he listened to Jesus and saw the truth, he became a more kinder man, a generous man. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if he gave away all of our money. But you know what? That's okay. Because of Jesus, he's a changed man, a happier man, a freer man. He has invested in eternity, Mary, the same eternity that Jesus promised all of us. You don't think he'd forget that promise, do you? He said, I am able to destroy the temple and rebuild it in 3 days. He was talking about himself, of course, but the council only heard threatening words. He said, I will rise again. We must believe. It's this waiting that is so difficult, living with both grief and hope. Wait for the Lord, Mary. Be strong. Let your heart take courage. Yea, wait for the Lord.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'll hang around too. You see that character up there on the left cross? That's my brother. A common, low-down, no-good thug. He ain't never been worth nothing. Always getting into trouble, fighting, stealing, cheating. So why am I here? I wondered that myself just a minute ago. Did you see? I guess not. You were probably too busy watching your boy. Awful, ain't it? That other crook on the right? He was bad-mouthing Jesus. Hey, you, he said, ain't you the Christ? Save yourself and save us too while you're at it. I was just sure my brother would badmouth him too. He's good at that. Never been much nice to his own sister. Well, ma'am, he surprised me. He defended your boy. Don't you even care about God now that you're a goner? He said, we've done wrong and we deserve what's coming to us. But he ain't done nothing wrong. That was the first time I'd ever heard him admit he done anything wrong. Never listened to Mom and me. Even worked the crowds when your boy was preaching. That's right, picked their pockets right under Jesus' nose. But then did you see? He turned to him and asked him to remember him when he got to his paradise. The folks around me thought he was just humoring him, you know, playing along with the game. But that ain't my brother's style. Then did you see, ma'am? He turned to him, I saw. It was like he was looking right into his soul. It was like he saw all the dirt, the grime, the bad, all the lies. But he didn't look away. He said, today you will be with me in paradise. My brother, the big bad bully who didn't take nothing from no one, he melted. Even from the cross he looked lighter, mellow. How can anyone look mellow when they're hanging on a cross? All I know is that he's all right now. All that bad stuff's really done with. He's taken that garbage to the grave. He's going somewhere better. I don't know much about religion, but I'm willing to wait and see. Yeah, I'll wait with you.
Mary, it's me, Salome, James and John's mother. I'm here for you as long as you need. We're friends for. But did you hear? Even with his dying breaths, your son was providing for you. Did you see how he looked when he looked at you? Did you hear what he said to you and then when he looked at John? Maybe you couldn't see through all the tears. Mary, he looked at you as a son who adores his mother. And then with such sadness, as he saw your heart breaking, then he turned and he looked at John too. Do you remember what he said to you? He said, "Dear woman, here is your son." And when he turned to John, he said, "Here is your mother." Don't you see? You don't have to worry about being alone. John will take care of you now. And he will take care of you so well. I know, because he is such a good son, such a good boy. Oh, well, he can be a bit messy at times. And his table manners could certainly use some work, and I am constantly having to remind him to pick his sandals up from underneath that table. Oh, I don't know why I'm telling you all this, but you understand, don't you? You're like a mother to John now, too. Believe me, I understand how hard it would have been not to meddle in Jesus' business. Do you remember when I spoke to him about my boys, James and John? Well, I knew Jesus was going to have his own kingdom. I wanted to put in a good word, make sure they had a good job, you know. Thought it was a good idea at the time, but Mary, I actually had the nerve to ask Jesus to place one of my sons on his left and the other on his right when he sat on his throne. I know, I didn't understand at the time. It just seemed like a good idea. But Jesus told me that if anyone was to share in those places of honor within his kingdom, they would also have to share in his suffering. I'm so glad that Jesus didn't listen to me, because if he had, my boys would be on a cross right now. Do you remember Jesus told us that we would mourn? He compared it to child labor. Now I'm asking you, what does a man know about childbirth? But it was a good image. In the beginning, you have so much pain. It's overwhelming, but then you have this child, and all that pain is forgotten, and you're just so filled with joy. Jesus told us, now is the time of your grief. But I'll come again, and you will see me, and you will rejoice, and you will be filled with joy. And no one can take that away. Somehow, I don't know how, but somehow he's got to turn this thing around. He said we'd see him again. He said we'd rejoice, and I believe him. I know this waiting is going to be awful, but we just have to do it. I'll wait with you, Mary. We'll all wait with you.
If you don't mind, ma'am, I would like to wait with you.
Who are you, child?
A lowly servant girl, but an honest one who's searching for the truth.
Come closer.
I saw him, you know. I work in the courtyard of the high priest. I saw them bring him in to see Caiaphas. I heard him speak to the crowds, and I really did like the things he said. See, I'm a curious person. Mother always scolded me for asking so many questions. I just want to know things and learn things, and I really want to know more about this prisoner. After they all went to him to see Caiaphas, I noticed this man, this big, burly man sitting by a fire. The guards were, of course, laughing and carrying on as usual, but not that man. No, this man, he was quiet, thoughtful. Then it hit me. He was with Jesus. I, of course, was curious, so I went up to him and said, "You're with Jesus, the Galilean." Of course, I didn't want to accuse him or get him in trouble or anything. I just wanted to know more. He turned to me and he said, "I have no idea what you're talking about." Then he got up and he walked across the courtyard. A couple other folks thought that maybe he knew Jesus too, so of course, out of curiosity, they asked, and he denied everything. Suddenly, a rooster crowed. The man looked horrified. He froze. Then he shot up out of his seat and raced across the courtyard. And when he thought no one was looking, he broke down and cried like a baby. I think he did know Jesus. And I think somehow the rooster's crowing reminded him of that. Your son must have been someone real special. I feel empty inside now. Like I had a chance to know someone holy, and I missed it. I heard a rumor that he's coming back. If you don't mind, I would like to wait with you for his return. Then maybe I could talk to him and he could take this emptiness inside away.
Wait for the Lord, child. Let your heart be strong and take courage. Yea, wait for the Lord. Jesus, son, you must be so weary. Rest, son. But please, please tell me what you meant when you said, "It is finished." I want to be strong and I want to wait for you. But what if your life really is finished?
Mary, no. I stand with you and I grieve with you, but I must challenge. His work is not done. My name is Mother Teresa. Many years ago, God called me to India to care for the poorest of the poor in Calcutta. My order of nuns, the missionaries of have chosen to live in poverty so that we can understand and care for them around the world. It is because of your son that we go. Yes, I understand what he meant when he said it is. You see, Jesus came to call all people to God. He came to offer salvation from the darkness of sin. Mary, this he accomplished. And now it is our turn. You see, it is our turn now to do what Jesus has asked us to do. Remember his word. I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink. When I was sick, you cared for me. Whenever you do something for the least of my children, you are doing that for me. These are the words that I live my life by. You see, when we go to a needy corner of the world, we look first for the least of the least, the most rejected, the most. And when we find them, we care for them as though we were caring for Jesus himself, because this is why I pick up dying people in the street and bring them home. Because Jesus asked me to, and he showed me how. I believe that when he said, "I thirst," he was not just thirsty for water. He was thirsty for you and me to show love for one another. You can find Calcutta all over the world, you know. If you have eyes to see, There are those who feel unwanted and lonely and forgotten all around us, perhaps even right beside us. Mary, this cross is love for us in action. We must put God's love into service, and that is what Jesus did. This is his love for us in action. When we receive the Holy Communion and we remember his body and his given for us here today, we receive the strength and the courage and the love to serve. Without him, we cannot do it. But we can do all things. You are clinging to a shred of hope, Mary. The hope that God will make something good out of this tragedy. No amount is too small for God. Offer up whatever courage you have to God, and he will turn it into something infinite. I understand what you are feeling. All around me I see suffering, and so I exist every day in that tension between grief and hope. All around me I see children dying. I see the sick abandoned. Were it not for the love of Jesus, I too might be swallowed by that despair. Mary, be strong. Wait for the Lord. Let your heart take courage. Yea, wait for the Lord.
There's something about that cross that just hits home with me. It's not just the cross itself, it's what the Romans meant it to stand for. Humiliation. I'm a street person, one of the nameless ones, lumped into a category they call the homeless. When people meet me on the street, they don't look me in the eye. Mostly they pass by on the other side. Yes, Mary, I know humiliation. But you know what else really gets to me about this whole story? It's when Jesus cried out to God in the Garden of Gethsemane. Why, God? Why me? Why does it have to be this way? Isn't there some other way? Take this cup from me. I don't want this agony. I wish I could have been there in the garden with him. I wouldn't have run. I wouldn't have fallen asleep like the other disciples. I would have sat with him, held his hand. I wouldn't have needed to say a word because I would have understood. I've asked questions like that myself. Oh God, where are you? Can't you do something? Why have you forgotten me? Why is my child so sick and I can't afford medicine? Why'd I have to lose my job? Why doesn't anything ever seem to work out right for me? Jesus really struggled there in the garden. It was like there was a storm going on in his soul. Why? Why? Oh, why? But the storm ended when he let go. Not my will, but thine be done, oh God. I'm not saying it's God's will for me to be homeless. But something about the way Jesus accepted his pain and gave it back to God gives me courage. I know if I can make it through the evil of this day, I can face whatever comes tomorrow. And you know what else gives me courage? Knowing he did this for me. Society tells me I'm no good. I'm a burden. Someone to be pitied, maybe, but mostly stepped over and ignored. But this, Mary, this tells me I am loved. I can't look at the cross and feel worthless and humiliated. I look at the cross and I feel loved. He did this for me. The least I can do is believe his promises and watch with faith. Yes, Mary, I will wait with you.
Mary, Mary, nothing is too hopeless for God's love. It is 1944, and there is a world war going on. My name is Corrie ten Boom, and I speak to you from a Nazi concentration camp. I live with the same prejudice, hatred, and fear that took Jesus to the cross. The Romans didn't trust the Jews, especially one hailed King of the Jews. So they tried to control God by nailing him to a tree. Now the Nazis are killing all of the Jews, trying to control the world. But there are many good Christians here who are helping the Jews escape. That is why I live in this tiny stone prison cell. My family and I were sheltering some Dutch Jews and got caught. You might ask why we would risk our lives for strangers. Because of that cross, Mary. Let me explain. The Romans in your time, the Nazis in mine, there are always those trying to control the world, hoarding power over others by manipulating and hurting. They don't understand power. That cross is power. That cross is humility, obedience, forgiveness. That cross is the bridge between us and God. That cross is what gave my family the power to obey God when He asked us to shelter the Jews. Your son said from the cross, my God, why have you forsaken me? I feel that way sometimes, Mary. Life in prison is hard. The guards make us stand at attention even when we're sick. They punish us cruelly for the least little thing. We are hungry, neglected. We are tortured and killed. I sometimes wonder why such horrible things have to happen to these good people. But you know what, Mary? Even in this hell on earth, miracles can happen. People in agony are desperate for a glimpse of hope. My sister prisoners are hungry for hope. I can give them that hope, Mary, even here. Many have heard about Jesus dying for them, and many have believed. Your son's words give me such comfort. Blessed are you when you're insulted, when you are persecuted, when people falsely say things against you because of me. Rejoice and be glad, for great is your reward in heaven. That is my hope, Mary, that someday this ridiculous struggle for power will be over, and we will see the new heaven and the new earth that Jesus is preparing for us. I believe him, Mary, even here. I will wait with you.
Mary, my name is Anyone. I represent all who have known disappointment and loss. I know how to grieve, Mary. I know the heartache of dreams shattered. I know the pain of a life story that didn't turn out the way I planned. It's not that are bad. Good health, friends, loving family, for work, children, achievement, human acceptance, human forgiveness, and peace. And when these things don't come, Mary, I feel cheated or even angry. I don't understand. What did I do wrong? Why don't the good things come? And why do others have what I long for so dearly and yet don't even seem to appreciate? Mary, maybe you feel cheated too. Cheated out of more years with Jesus, out of a close family funeral, out of a chance to say goodbye. I will wait with you, Mary. Now it's the hard part, trying to understand God's purpose and knowing that we might not understand in this lifetime, trusting a God that is good and sees the whole picture, while I see only one small, painful corner. I live daily with the awkward mix of grief and hope. My prayer echoes the prayer of millions like me. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to accept the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Mary, did you hear your son's last words? Father, into thy hands I commend my spirit. Jesus was trying to teach us to let go. Somehow I must put to death my own ideas of how my life should be so that he can bring forth his new life in me. But so often I don't want to let go. A seed has to fall to earth and die before a new life can begin. I am that seed. The earth is cold and dark around me. I have a hard time imagining that spring will ever come. But it has to come sometime. Perhaps then I will feel alive again. Until the new day of springtime, Mary, we will wait with you.
Sisters, past and future, I'm deeply touched that you would wait with us. For those who don't know me, my name is Mary, from the coastal town of Magdala. I'm called Mary Magdalene. I am weary with grief. I, like many of you, have been with the Master all along. I watched his triumphant entry into Jerusalem, and I saw the crowds turn from support to rejection. I wanted to run away, but I couldn't. Not while my Lord was on trial, beaten, and taunted. I stood as close as I could to him while he carried that cross. I wanted him to know my presence and to feel my love. And Mary, I watched him drive the nails into his hands. I heard every word he said from that cross. Did you know he had compassion even at the end? The soldiers that crucified him were gambling for his clothes. He could have ignored them, but he prayed for them. Father, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. In a strange sense, I felt a bond with those soldiers. You see, Jesus had once looked at me like that. He looked beyond my shame and saw the potential for goodness within. Yes, I was once tormented. Call it madness, insanity, call it whatever you like. I was gripped by something horrible. I had no peace of mind, no control of my will. I was an outcast and an embarrassment. There was nothing complete about me except complete madness. But Jesus, he cast out the demons, and with that, the feeling of self-hatred and worthlessness. Just as he calmed the stormy seas, he calmed my troubled spirit, leaving me free, new, and whole. No one had ever loved me like that. No one had ever believed in me like that. He brought out all that was good in me. And suddenly, all I wanted to do was to serve him. Isn't it ironic? A woman with 7 demons sharing her food and clothing to care for someone else? My life is lived for him. I would do anything for him. Mary, I will wait with you, Mother of my Lord, as I always have. But I cannot wait here. The cross, it is too harsh. It's too painful. I must go to him, find where they laid him, and care for his body. Even in death, he brings out the best in me. Yes, I will wait with you for a while, but then I must go to the tomb. For if he rises, and oh God, he must, I want to be the first to greet him. For now, we wait together.
Were you there when he rose up from the grave? Oh, sometimes it causes me to tremble.